Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Michelle Fondin. I'm the author of the new book, Heal Yourself, A Return to Wholeness, the integration of body, mind, soul, and spirit. I'm also the author of Twin Flame Romance, the Journey to Unconditional Love. All of my books are available in paperback, Kindle, and Audible books. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for subscribing below. Click on that bell, scroll up to all for all notifications, and thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. I do readings, 30, 60, and 90-minute readings, Twin Flame Romance, Life, Path, and Purpose. You can book a reading at my website, michellefondinauthor.com. Welcome to the new format for my YouTube channel. Today is Thursday and we are doing Shadow Energy Thursdays for Twin Flames and overcoming the obstacles that might be in place for you on your twin flame journey. And today we are talking about why your twin flame triggers you and vice versa, because you gotta believe that if your twin flame is triggering you, you are triggering your twin flame. Now, this is something that happens very often in the twin flame journey, and it is something that happens very early on in the journey. In case you haven't noticed, you might have noticed those triggers happening. Sometimes it can be very confusing because at the same time that you have this elation and you are so happy to have met your person or the one that you believe to be your person, even if it's the first day, the first week, the first second, or the first month, very soon after that elation comes the irritation because you start triggering each other. In this video, we're going to just explore the reasons why you and your twin flame have a tendency to trigger each other. This doesn't just happen in the beginning of your twin flame journey. It can happen throughout the entire journey. It can happen if you are in an on-again, off-again relationship with your twin flame, which I know that many of you are because I speak to many of you on my live streams. I speak to many of you in my private readings and coachings. And so if you are in that on-again, off-again category and you're not in total separation from your twin flame, you know the drill. You get back together, it seems like things might be going somewhere, and then all of a sudden there is some sort of trigger on one side or both sides that creates a new separation. This is extremely common in the twin flame trajectory, and let's explore the reasons. The first reason is because twin flames have a sacred connection. The union of the twin flames is a sacred union. It's the sacred journey, which means that it is very, very authentic, and authentic starting from a soul level. Now, it's true that other relationships do have soul connection. Other relationships certainly can have that specialness, and this often happens in soulmate relationships or family relationships where there's just a lot of love for each other. However, twin flames are very unique in that they share the same soul DNA. The DNA of their soul is exactly the same. It's almost like they are identical twins, but not in the biological sense, not in the physical cellular sense, but in the soul DNA sense. And because of this, when you interact with your twin flame, initially, you have this soul connection that is necessary to get to the raw material of the soul. How do you get to the raw material of the soul? You need to strip away the layers of the self. You need to strip away the layers of the artificial self that you've created. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to strip away all of this self. You certainly don't need to do that because you still need to live on Earth. You need to operate. You need to get a job or have a job or work with your kids. There are many things that we need to do to function in this life, and those are certainly necessary pieces of living on Earth. However, when it comes to the relationship with your twin flame, we need to strip away all of those layers. Now, it's almost as if you are renovating a very old house, and that old house that is maybe 200, 300, or 800 years old, depending on where you live. I know that's not the case in the United States, but all over Europe, there are buildings that are well over 800 years. And the people who have inhabited that house or that building over the course of those years have just put different layers of paint or wallpaper on the walls. And if you are renovating this very, very old house, then you have to strip away of those layers that have been continually covering the walls if you want to strip them down to the bare minimum in order to put something pretty on, something that you want on. But it can be grueling work to strip away those layers. So think of the activation of the triggers is the beginning work of beginning to strip away those layers in order to have a clear surface so that you guys can work with that clean template or that clean surface together to be able to build something very authentic. Number 2 is, as a result of the soul connection and the triggering, childhood wounds are activated. Now, part of these layers that need to be stripped away have to do with your upbringing, your education, your upbringing, what happened with your caregivers as you were growing up, what happened with your mentors and teachers and the culture you lived in, the religion that you lived in. All of that can contribute to those childhood wounds. And usually, not always, but usually those childhood wounds are formed well before age 7. And it's just the impressionable part of childhood where your brain is actively working at growing and learning and imprinting. And so many of these childhood wounds that are actually activated in a part of our memory that isn't easily accessible. It's the subconscious mind. Often, what happens is when our twin flame triggers us, or when we trigger our twin flames, we can't even access the part of us that has been triggered because it is deep within the subconscious mind. And that's why it's super important that you begin to do your childhood wound work, which is prevalent. You can begin that process in my Twin Flame Boot Camp number 2, which is the healing. And all of the work in the boot camp number 2, the healing, is designed to help you surface a lot of these wounds, a lot of the pain in order to process through it. Number 3, old karma is ready to be repaid. And that is just another layer. It's another layer of wallpaper, another layer of paint that is revealed when you are triggered by your twin flame. It's the old karma, karmic patterns that are needing to be repaid, karmic debt needing to be repaid. I know there are debates on what the word karma means in the Western or Eastern cultures. This is the way I learned it when I learned about Eastern cultures, is that karma is simply a word that means action. Now, actions can have a positive, negative, or neutral effect. The karma generally needing to be repaid is negative karma. So, for example, if throughout your childhood you were in elementary school, and for the first 6 years of your elementary school, you were the classroom bully and you decided to steal kids' lunch money, and there were never real consequences for your actions, then the karma needing to be repaid would be restitution of what you did. Now, that could happen now in your adult life, or that could happen in subsequent lifetimes. But in each lifetime that we have, we accumulate this negative karma that needs to be repaid. And for some lifetimes, we don't accumulate any negative karma, that we do either neutral or very positive karma that is enabling us to progress as a soul in future lifetimes. However, it is said that when you journey with certain people from your soul family here, notably a twin flame, you can have karma in common, or it can be activated where when you are triggered by your twin flame, the homework, the karma needing to be repaid to maybe other people in your life is then activated, meaning the purging of those last bits of karma that you need to repay in this lifetime are being activated. And sometimes these things happen very rapidly where you have these realizations of certain relationships in your life that seem to have you on a hamster wheel. And when you get the lesson and when you have the recognition of, oh, maybe I need to alter my behavior, change my behavior, be more generous, kind, do something different in this situation, then you can learn your karmic lesson, repay that debt, and move on to the next level in your life. But twin flames very often trigger each other because they need to notice their own karma that they are needing to sort out. Lastly, and of course, this is not an exhaustive list. I just want to let you know that this is not an exhaustive list. But lastly, paradigm shifts are needing to happen. What does that mean? Twin flames are coming onto this earth or awakening on this earth at this particular moment in time. Remember, that is the key phrase, at this particular moment in time, because there are so many twin flames activated at this moment in time, because paradigms are needing to be shifted. What are paradigms? For example, the paradigm of women in relationships cannot be older than men in a romantic relationship. Because twin flames often come into this earth or come activated into this earth with a large age gap, that's not all. You can put all the comments you want to below. I know it's not for everybody. However, there are a large portion of twin flames who come to the earth with this huge age gap. And so oftentimes the age gap is the female who is older than the male. So for those twin flames, one of the paradigms that we're needing to break and shift is the fact that women who are divine feminines, for example, in a female body, can be 10, 15, 20 years older than their divine masculine counterpart, who is a man in a male body. And before the paradigm was, to bring this example around, was that men, it was really culturally accepted around the world that men who were 30, 40, 50 years old could marry a woman who was 20, 25, depending. So an age gap of a woman who was 28 years old marrying a 50-year-old man, people might have turned heads a little, but it was rather culturally accepted up until today. But if there was a woman who was, let's say, 45 and coming into union with a man who was 28, 29, 30, it's not very culturally accepted. And I am really speaking about globally, around the world. I just spoke to a client, for example, who was from India, and she is only 2 years older than her divine masculine counterpart. And in India, it is unacceptable for a woman to be even 2 years older than the man. So as you see, as we shift paradigms, things that are outdated can become more acceptable. In the same vein, there are many different paradigms that we are shifting, whether it is religious beliefs, socioeconomic status, education, or whatever it is, color, creed, disability level, whatever it is, we're starting to shift those paradigms as twin flames. And the triggers happen on both sides so that we can begin to have the conversations that will eventually shift these paradigms. Because if those conversations are not had, and not only between the twin flame couple, but in addition to that, with parents, grandparents, sisters, brothers, friends, and society at large, then how are those paradigms going to shift? And so for all of those reasons and many more, twin flames tend to trigger each other. So what I would say to wrap this up, and we talk about triggers, dark night of the soul, healing, childhood wounds, a lot more in the Twin Flame Bootcamp. So I would say if you are interested in navigating this journey successfully, the links are below to register for Twin Flame Bootcamps number 1 and number 2. You can do them concurrently or you can do them one after the other. But it's a lot easier to navigate the Twin Flame journey when you have a template. And we don't have a template coming into this. So I've created those courses so you guys have that template. But in wrapping up, what I really want to say to you is that when you are triggered by your twin flame, you need to ask yourself the question, where is this trigger coming from? Where is this coming from? And what can I do to take a look at it? This is super duper important. I think it's really important that you don't brush it aside or blame your twin flame for that trigger, because your twin flame, when they trigger you, they are doing you a favor. Now, all of this is subconscious. I don't think your twin flame is just waking up in the morning and saying, I think I will trigger my twin flame today. That's certainly what is not happening. But take a look at it when you are triggered and work through it. Start to work through the reasons why you are triggered. Just sit with those feelings, sit with those reasons, journal, and really work through it. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for subscribing to my channel below. Click on that bell, scroll up to all for all notifications. And thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. Thank you for sharing this video with other twin flames. And thank you so much for supporting this YouTube channel. You can buy a book or 2 or 3. You can also pledge your support on Patreon and get the monthly Twin Flame podcast, which is only accessible to patrons on Patreon, www.patreon.com/Michelle S. Fondin, and I will see you in the next video.